A California teacher is going to have a wild story to share with her students on the first day of school. As Avery Ellerwood shows us, a bear made herself right at home inside that classroom just outside of Bakersfield.
Tuesday evening, Elaine Salmon, a teacher at Peak to Peak Elementary School, was preparing her classroom for the new school year when an unexpected visitor showed up.
When I came back, I opened my classroom door and there was this bear charging towards the door.
Salmon said she shut the door, locking the bear inside with her cell phone.
So I went back to the office, closed the door, locked the bear in here, and then I went back to the office to call my husband, Ian. My first thought was, is it gonna do any damage? I have a brand new floor, and I already have my decorations up.
Thankfully, there was no damage to the room, except for one of the classroom's earthquake kits. When Salmon's husband, Ian Sari, arrived, he knocked on the window to get the bear's attention.
When my husband came, we started knocking on the window to distract it.
And that's when it was go time.
The thing is, sadly, you have to hold the door open for it to stay open. So when he was holding the door open, that's when he called the bear's attention, and then the bear went by him like within a foot.
Then the bear ran back into the mountains. And after all that, Elaine tells me the bear came back again, proving that maybe the furry friend loves Salmon or her classroom.
Well, the teacher says the school has never had bears come by when students are around, but they still practice a drill just in case it ever happens. All right, so imagine that you plan to take an 8-day vacation someplace that ended up lasting 2 months. Well, now imagine that trip, not 2 months, that trip was into space, and that's exactly what happened right now to 2 NASA astronauts. And the agency says that they could get stuck until next year, until 2025. Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, they've been in space since early June. They launched on Boeing Starliner and were supposed to be back home after a little more than a week. But after liftoff, they were approaching the space station. The Starliner had some issues. They made it on board safely, but now NASA is just too concerned about the craft to have them hop back and come back to Earth.
They're worried that we don't know for sure, so they estimate the risk higher, and they would recommend that we avoid coming home because we have another option.
All right, so there is a backup plan. They're not going to just be expatriated to space forever. So the plan is just to wait for SpaceX to launch a rocket in February of 2025. Instead of sending 4 astronauts on that ship, they just send 2. They would leave room for Wilmore and Williams on the way back. Now, the situation might remind you of a similar stranded spacewalker from the 90s, a cosmonaut, Sergei.
Oh, yes, who could forget?
Who could forget Sergei? He was in orbit in 1991 when the Soviet Union was dissolved. I do remember that. Because of that, he was stuck in space for 311 days, twice as long as what was planned. Now, he did eventually make it back to Earth in March of 1992, about 3 months after the fall of the Soviet Union. Now, since space travel began, there have been concerns over the impact of the human body, things like the effect of increased radiation, loss of bone density, that's what you always hear about, lower gravity, kidney issues because of radiation, and of course, the potential for mental health problems from the isolation.
Let me make sure I understand.
Yes.
They got to wait till February for essentially kind of an Uber rocket to kind of go and pick them up.
That's exactly right. They got to call their Uber. It's going to come in February.
Thanks for watching. You can always get all the latest headlines and weather over on Pix Plus. And remember to like and click the button on the bottom left of your screen to subscribe for the biggest Bay Area news.